When we got together last in March, I talked about the myriad ways that those on the hard left and others were purposely attempting to take down our country. I touched on that a moment ago. Transforming it into some racialized, radicalized, hypersexualized dystopia. How these people see America as inherently and systemically evil, and how they're willing to do anything to anybody in order to recognize and realize their agenda. Some examples that I cited at the last talk in March were open borders, lack of respect for law enforcement and law and order, the destruction of the energy industry. This is all on purpose, by the way. This isn't happenstance. The tainting or fear of tainting of our food supply, fear-based vaccines, the secularization of society, taking God out of anything that you can, anything that they can. Attacks on our Judeo-Christian principles, the wokeification of business, of industry, mainstream media, higher education, medicine, you name it. And I talked briefly about K-12 education, which is kind of my wheelhouse, I guess. But today, I'm going to talk about K-12 again, but I'm going to peel back the onion a little bit more and expand upon the ways in which America and kid haters, make no mistake about it, are all too willing to destroy our youth, our kids, in order to make their sinister and sick dreams a reality. This is serious stuff, as you all know, or you wouldn't be here. Our youth are becoming nothing more than collateral damage for these people. They'll be tossed away when they're not useful anymore, leaving them hurt, broken, dysfunctional, and instilling in them a hate for themselves, each other, and our country. And their parents, too. Probably the most important point. It wasn't enough at one time that these people got to these kids when they were in college. Now, as soon as they're of school age, they want to get their claws into them. There'll be some common themes today in my messaging. Pluralism over individualism. Attack on the family. Absolutely, the destruction of the family is their goal. The normalization of the abnormal in many ways. The state as God. You know where we're going here. And tribalism. It's poison. It is absolute poison. Divisive. In short, Marxism is on our doorstep. No doubt about it. Through the methods I'll discuss today, Marxist principles are being adopted in our schools in an attempt to absolutely destroy our kids, with the end result being the end of this country as we know it today. That cannot be overstated. What better way to take down a country than to ruin and destroy a generation or two of its youth? It sounds ominous and gloom and doom. Yes, it does. But at the end of our discussion today, I'm going to tell you why it's not going to happen and what we can all do to make sure that it doesn't happen. How we're going to defeat this evil and win what I wholeheartedly believe is a spiritual battle. The first thing I wanted to touch on was critical race theory. It's not new. It isn't a new concept. It's been around since at least the 1980s. Professor Derek Bell from Harvard was, up until a few years ago, sequestered mostly on woke college campuses like my alma mater, Brown. It was based on a belief that black people were oppressed due to the systemic racism found in our nation's laws. Even though during the civil rights movement, people of color and white people and people of all colors demonstrated, fought, and won equal rights. We were all taught about the evils of racism and slavery in school. All of us. Jim Crow, Dr. King, Civil Rights Movement, Brown versus Board of Education, all that stuff. We all know this. The vast majority of Americans believe strongly that all people, regardless of color or creed, have equal rights, and deservedly so. That, however, turned out not to be enough for people like Ibram X. Kendi, Henry Rogers, by the way, his real name, and Patrisse Cullors, BLM. To these people, equal rights and equal opportunity under the law were not enough. These people and groups wanted more, and they were about to get it. George Floyd's death opened the door for proponents of CRT, BLM, others, to unleash the true tenets and pillars of critical race theory upon our country and its citizens, including our kids. Among these were white people are evil oppressors, while black people always will be marginalized and oppressed. We know that's not true. All of America's institutions like banking, business, the justice system, etc., are systemically racist and always will be so. That's another pillar of CRT. The only reason for success or failure of a black or white person is race. Again, total BS, not true. In his book, Stamped, Ibram X. Kendi said, and I quote, "The only remedy for racist discrimination is anti-racist discrimination. The only remedy for past discrimination is present discrimination. The only remedy for present discrimination is future discrimination." This statement to me is absolute poison. Yet is the cornerstone of critical race theory. The absolute cornerstone as it relates to our youth. To me, anti-racism is racism. It is racism. Yet our kids are getting a full dose of it every single day in school. It's about feelings, not fact. Decisions can't be made on feelings. They have to be made on fact-based data. And this fails to do that. Our opponents know that, but they use it strategically as a power play. Don't fall for it. You've done nothing wrong. Critical race theory focuses not on every kid having an equal opportunity, which we all believe in, but instead mandates an artificially engineered outcome to level the score by lowering expectations for everyone. We reward mediocrity under this we reward mediocrity with critical race theory and these Marxist theories. By telling black kids that they don't have what it takes to cut it on their own? Really? That's what the message they're getting. That they can't make it unless the outcome is fixed. That's totally wrong. So anti-American. Enter the bastardization of the word equity. Terrible word, as it turns out. Doesn't mean the same thing as equality, as we know. Equality denotes an equal chance at success. Equity demands a predetermined, predisposed outcome. These words are not the same. Since 2020, this garbage has been drilled into the heads of kids in Westerly, North Kingstown, South Kingstown, Providence, and every other district virtually in the state of Rhode Island, throughout the country. Loudoun County, Virginia was the first place in the U.S. where this really came to be seen on a national level. That district was in the news just about every day. I can tell you that today, our state, Rhode Island, is ground zero for a lot of this stuff. And I'll tell you why. Our size, our small size, makes it easier for these concepts to be implemented and tried and massaged, to be used as a testing ground for other states in the country. And it's happening. We know it. The 2019 law, which in effect took the curriculum approval powers away from locally elected school committees and consolidated it into the hands of a non-elected official, the Secretary of the Commissioner of Education, who soon become Angelica Infante Green. That was Gina Raimondo's thank you to Rhode Island as she left. Was that signing that legislation. Thankfully, we have bills in both the House and Senate proposed by Representative Place and Senator Elaine Morgan, which seek to repeal this law and return educational decisions to where they belong, which is with the people that we elected to represent us. Marxist, America-hating progressives in the Democrat Party. Not all Democrats, certainly. Progressive side, that's the third thing. They have become a huge voice in our government, both nationally and now more locally and statewide. And they're a threat to our republic and to the survival of the country, quite frankly. They have hijacked the old Democrat Party and have changed its face maybe forever. Moderate Democrats are now more closely aligned, belief-wise, with Republicans than they are with progressives in their own party. We proved that last year. I don't want to get ahead of myself, but last year, Senator De La Cruz sponsored a bill that closed a loophole that between 14 and 16, kids 14 to 16, it was not illegal for people in custodial authority of these kids to have sexual relations with kids 14 to 16. There was a loophole in the law. Teachers, coaches, whomever. With our help, we testified strongly against that bill, in support of Jessica's bill, and it was a bipartisan effort, I have to say, and I was very, very, very happy. Because I said during the press conference, if we cannot unite on this, if parties can't unite over saving our kids, where are we going? Right. That's gotta be the area of common ground, right? And we did. They did unite. We also united again a few months later when Senator Tiara Mack sponsored a bill that would have mandated the teaching of pleasurable sex to kids as young as 6th grade. We had a hearing, I think it was in education, that bill was heard, and she was knocked around the Senate lounge for a good hour, and she deserved it. That bill didn't even make it out of committee. Again, a bipartisan effort, and that bill, like I said, never made it out of committee. So if we work together, Republicans and moderate Democrats, we can defeat a lot of this stuff that's going on now in an attempt to save our kids. We have to. Our kids should not be taught to hate each other, that white people are bad, that black kids can't cut it. that the world is forever stacked against them. Yet that is exactly what's happening. In the TV shows they watch, music, in the books they read in school, and we're going to talk more about books in a little bit, and in numerous other ways, all kids are being taught to view black kids as victims, even the black kids themselves. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. We know that none of that stuff is true. That if given an equal chance, black kids are going to perform just as well as white kids are. We know that. It's been proven. This creates animosity, tribalism, and division. And a country based on these things cannot sustain itself. It just can't. Attacks on the traditional American family and against God further divide these kids and their families. Again, not sustainable. So that's the first thing. The second thing, and I'm not going to spend a ton of time on it, is called social emotional learning. Also not new. But itself also has been transformed over the last few years. It's now used as a tool for teachers to drive a wedge between parents and kids. Teachers' unions. I could spend all day talking about SEL, but I'm going to simply make a few points about it. If any of you are parents or grandparents here, opt your kids out of every single survey in school. Every one. They are nothing but data mining tools, and the data that's collected in these surveys will follow these kids at least until they're 18. Send an email or a letter, something official, to your child or grandchild's principal. Know your rights. Familiarize yourself with PPRA. PPRA is the Protection of Pupil Rights Amendment. America First Legal has the best PPRA materials that I have seen. This has to do with surveys as well. There's a big difference between opting out and opting in. Schools do not want parents to be able to opt their kids in. They want them to have to do something to opt their kids out. Having to opt in means the kid's not taking the survey unless the parents give permission. They're going to get fewer kids taking the surveys with an opt-in option than an opt-out. You see what I'm saying? Because if they just have an opt-out, it means the kid's taking it if the parent doesn't send anything in. So there are 8 specific reasons or 8 specific survey topics that are covered by PPRA. Familiarize yourself with that. Go to America First Legal. Look up PPRA Parents Toolkit. It's the best PPRA information that I've seen, and we've used it. Thirdly, social emotional learning is an attack, in my view, on the mental well-being of our kids by the state. The people that claim to care about your kids so much, SEL is an attack on their mental well-being. And they do this because they want to replace you as the primary influencer of your kids. No question about it. It also blurs the line of safety between adult and child. Some sick stuff going on here. It normalizes the discussion of topics that normally should be covered in the home. Sex, pleasurable sex, gender, all of that stuff. I don't know about you all, but I don't want a teacher playing psychiatrist or psychologist talking to my kid about sex, having sex. Reproduction, all that stuff, biological stuff, fine. I get it. Don't talk to my kid about having sex. I'll do that.
Amen.
They're not your kids, they're ours. That's what I tell those people. SEL is another example of the U.S. Department of Education, and Rhode, and superintendents of cleverly devising solutions to problems, miraculously, that they themselves have created. Right? They create the problems, then they make us pay so they can look like heroes and come up with the solutions. Well, it doesn't work that way. We know what they're doing, and they know we know. Keep in mind, here's an example of the mental health crisis we're facing today. They did it. Keep in mind the divide and conquer philosophy I mentioned earlier. They not only want to divide the kids and pit them against each other, but they want to pit the kids against you as well, parents and grandparents. That's the goal. They want to own and control your kids. And you know why. Remember this term, and this is serious as a heart attack here: gender-affirming sanctuaries. There is legislation in no less than 4 states in the United States right now which aims to remove kids from their homes, from their parents, should the parents not affirm the child's gender selection. In other words, if your son or daughter comes to you and says, Mommy, I don't think I'm a boy anymore, I think I'm a girl, or vice versa, and you as a parent don't affirm that, this legislation says the child can be removed from your home, housed in public affordable housing. We'll talk more about that in a minute. The parent could be prosecuted, certainly be investigated, prosecuted, arrested, prosecuted, and convicted. They're coming for your kids. And I don't want to scare anybody, but I would ask you this. When you leave today, wherever you live, keep an eye out for any abandoned school buildings that are being bought by your town or developed, any storage facility, large storage facilities, anything like that, because this is what they want to do. They want to remove the kids from the home and take them away from the parents and put you away. No word of a lie, it's true. Maine, California, right, and one other state I forget. And you know what? Listen, we're not stupid. If Tiara Mack or some of those progressives in the Senate and the House have their way, I'm surprised we don't have legislation in the House and Senate right now on this. But there's a lot of vacant buildings in Providence, and Rhode is in the housing business, make no mistake about it. The final piece to this puzzle, we've got critical race theory covered. We talked a little bit about SEL, social emotional learning. It's a hypersexualization of our kids. This infuriates me to no end, and this is what we spend a lot of our time talking about when we speak at things like this, or school committee meetings, or do radio or TV or whatever. And for the life of me, I can tell you, man, I don't understand how anybody could think that a book that shows a depiction of an adult and a child fondling each other's genitals is educational. I don't get it. And I get mad, I'm sorry, but I know you all probably feel the same way. There are some people that think this is good. They think it's good. And we're book banners, and homophobes, and transphobes. Yeah. Listen, if you're in this business, right, if you're doing this, and you're in this fight like we are, you cannot worry about what people call you. You just can't. Because if you do, if you don't have thick skin here, then you're not going to last. So what you can do is you can turn it around. And you can say, you know what, you're a pedophile. You think that stuff should be in school? You're wrong, not me. You're wrong. These books like Gender Queer and Fun Home and others, they normalize sex between minors and between minors and adults. It's wrong. It's evil, and it's against the law. And thanks to people like Representative Morgan, Representative Azzanaro, there's a bill now in the House that amends the obscenity law to include graphic novels with depictions, cartoons of activities like I just described. This must pass. It must get support. It hammers into the heads of these kids that all of this abnormal stuff is normal, even though the kid knows in his or her heart, in their gut, that it's wrong. But when they see an adult doing it and saying it's okay by people they respect, a teacher or whomever, they start to believe it. Kids are very impressionable. You think these evil people don't know that? They prey on that. They're predators. That's what they are. Those of us who are fighting the stocking of books, school libraries, like I said, we're called all sorts of names. The book banning thing really gets me, though, because how in the world can we be called book banners? Sorry. When these books are readily available in any public library, online, wherever. We're not banning anything. I just don't see the need for books like that to be in a library, say the Westerly High School library, where 85% of the kids are under 18. If a parent, and I don't know why they would, wants to let their kid view a book like this, then you know what, fine. Take them to the public library if you want. Buy it online and talk about it at home. I don't know what kind of a parent would want to do that, but it is your right. I just don't want it in a taxpayer-funded school library where 85% of the kids in the high school are not of age. Not too much to ask, I don't think. Apparently it is for our superintendent and our school committee, but we're making progress there as well. They know it's not book banning, they're just lying to fit their narrative. That's what they're doing. Kids today are deluged with demonstrations of days of silence, like we just had at Westerly High School for the LGBTQ+ community, where the kids could sit there and not have to answer any questions in class because they're demonstrating against the marginalization of this group. I want to know this. What if we petitioned to have a day of prayer, or pro-life day, or heterosexual day? We know what would happen. Just this week, I spoke with a Burrillville parent who called me. He said, Bob, my son came home and told me that in his health class last week, there was a presentation by the health teacher entitled LGBTQ+ 101. The district maintained, according to this parent, that the students were allowed to opt out when they actually were not allowed to opt out. So I filed an APRA request, which we've done a few of, public records request. A few dozen. The business manager sent me the entire presentation deck, I'm sure by accident. I have it. And if anybody wants to see this thing, more power to you. I'll send it to you. You give me your email address and I'll forward it. We can get it out there and we can show what Burrillville Public Schools, Burrillville High School. Anybody from Burrillville in here? No. We'll get this around and we'll show what they're doing. Terrible. Sick stuff. Nor were the parents notified, P.S., about this. Because my APRA request went to the superintendent, but the business manager responded and sent me the deck, and then the superintendent started chiming in, which was very unusual. This was after like 2 days. So he told me, no, parents were not informed, but moving forward, we are going to inform the parents of anything that's going to be taught that might be a sensitive topic in this PE class. So I took that as a small victory. In other words, we caught you, buddy. Now you're going to do the right thing all of a sudden. So we have our eyes on Burrville too.
Good.
This presentation deck, by the way, was an alarming deck to look at because it normalized LGBTQ and trans lifestyles and taught other students that they must adapt to this small percentage of students by referring to them by preferred pronouns, as well as the sex with which they identify. Now, I don't know about you. If you're a boy and you want to be called Sally, I'll call you Sally. I'll do that. But I will never, never call you a boy if you're a girl. Never will I do that. I talked briefly about the bill that Representative Azzanaro was the sponsor of, Representative Morgan co-sponsor. It'll make it illegal to possess and distribute obscene pornographic materials in our libraries. It's an amendment of the to the current obscenity law. Sam is a moderate Democrat.
It's going to be in House Judiciary.
And there are many of them which, combined with people like our friend Pat, can make a strong coalition to win some of the battles that we're fighting for our kids today. We need cooperation from both sides, moderate Democrats and Republicans, in order to get this done. Because we don't have enough Republicans in either the House or the Senate, as we know. Again, this stuff is attacking what we have known for a long time to be traditional values. People want to rip the traditional values away from this country. Family values, religion, God, everything. Calling right wrong and wrong right. We have to stick to our guns here. The aim is to confuse these kids, create mental anguish, make no mistake about it, and teach them that everything that their parents and priests have taught them is wrong. Don't allow it. Critical race theory, social emotional learning, the hypersexualization of our kids have one important commonality. They are all based on socialism / Marxism / communism / cultural pluralism. No matter what you call it. I don't care what you call it. Many believe that it will be the philosophy in place when the end times come, whenever that is. I sure hope not. We've already seen times of great anguish in our country, going through it right now. Right now. Young people are being lured and duped into accepting communism because on its face, the people controlling everything to an uneducated kid sounds pretty good. Wow, the people are going to be in charge. The problem is the people turn out to be the government, who turn out to be a very few select people in the government who are more concerned with their own well-being than they are of any of us. And there's a history of that throughout the world, that every time communism or Marxism, whatever you want to call it, is in effect, it's devastating. It's death. Millions and millions and millions of people. Contrast this with the hate they are being taught to feel toward our own country in schools today. I asked a kid the other day, no word of a lie, who is George Washington? She knew that he was the first president, but you know what the second thing out of her mouth was? He was a slave owner. Right? And yeah, he was. But he was a hell of a lot more. This is what they're being taught. Everything is seen, not everything, but a lot of things are seen through the lens of race and gender. It's wrong. God is bad. Their parents are bad. They are bad. America is bad. If they hear it enough, they start to believe it. This is why you gotta go school committee meetings, you gotta write letters, you've gotta do whatever you can. Even like Pat said earlier, if you don't have, if you don't you're not of the mind to go speak publicly, that's okay. Not everybody, that's not everyone's strength. But everybody does something well. God gave us all gifts, like I said at the last one, Pat. We can all do something well to contribute to this cause. Whether you go and tell 5 people about what we talked about today, or you write a letter, or you go to a school committee meeting, or you do something. Everybody can do something to help our cause and save these kids in our country. Everybody. The forces, in my view, of Marxism and evil have been unleashed on this country. No doubt about it. Well, the ultimate goal being, as I said earlier, to bring our country to its knees and to transform it. That's the deal. That's why Ramona, I don't know if she's here yet. Is she here? No. That's why Ramona and myself and others fight so hard. People like Representative Morgan and others fight so hard, so publicly, and why all of us in this room have to stand together. We have to. We have to be like the 13 unbroken arrows in the Great Seal of the United States. Right? Look at the left talon of the eagle. 13 unbroken arrows. You can break one arrow, but you can't break 13. You can tear one page, but you can't tear a phone book in half. Well, I can't. Roland can, I can't. Socialists hate God. They hate God. Karl Marx hated God, loved Satan, loved him. I don't believe somebody can be a Christian and a socialist. I don't believe somebody can be a Christian and a Marxist. Don't believe it. They're polar opposites. They are mutually exclusive. One can't be a Christian and seek to drive a wedge between a parent and their kids, or an attempt to destroy the family unit. The Bible tells us that the church, though its numbers will shrink, will become stronger. We're seeing this today. I saw a survey the other day or last week, whenever it was, that said that the amount of people who have God as their center point of their lives has never been lower than it is right now in this country. But I've also seen, and this is anecdotally, that the people who do have God as their centerpiece, center point of their lives, believe more now than ever.
Amen. Yes. Amen.
That's how I feel, anyway. He agrees. So why and how will we win this fight? Make no mistake, it is the fight of our lives and the fight for our lives and that of our kids and this country. And this is why we'll win. We tell the truth. That's what we do. We tell the truth. We don't lie. We use fact-based information, always. We're emotional, and I tell people, you don't like my delivery? Too bad. Don't care. I don't mean you guys, I mean unfriendly audiences. People will come around if you tell them the truth. And they are coming around. Maybe the most important thing, we believe in God. God and truth does not lose, folks. Doesn't lose. I don't know when it's going to happen, but it will happen. We will win.
Amen.
We have to be courageous. I know when I walk into a room and there are 100 people in there and 90 of them hate me, I love it. I do. I do. Because I walk in the room like I own it, because I got St. Mike right here, right? He protects me. We've got to have the courage to confront evil wherever it is. That's our obligation to do that. However you do it, you have to do it. Calling people out, can't be afraid to do that. Hold them accountable. Our opponents are cowards. They're cowards. They may be brave in groups, right? You get them one-on-one, they turtle right away. They'll do it. They don't have the fact-based information that we have. You kill them with the truth. You pound the truth. That's what we do. Not kill them. Sorry, Dave.
Well, I almost said passable because you make a lot of references to that, but Pat was wondering about questions and answers. What motivates you most? I think you got more.
I do. Can I put that on hold for 2 minutes? All right. We have to respect our opponent, though, because they're a formidable foe. Well-funded, well-organized. Another reason we'll beat them, though, is they care only about themselves and about their own power, their own self-preservation. Throughout history, people like this and societies like this have imploded. And there are myriad examples of that. We as God-fearing Americans, we stand for liberty, freedom, equality under the law, and fairness. We love each other, we love our kids, and we love our country. It's another reason why we'll win. The biggest reason we'll win this battle is that we are willing to sacrifice everything, including our own lives, to make this happen. We are. You have to be willing to lay it down for what's right. Listen, man, if this is the way, God forbid something happen, I'm okay. I'm good. At least we tried. We'll leave this earth trying to make it better. That's why we're here. Wrapping up, stay strong, stay involved, stay faithful. We're pushing a boulder uphill, I like to say, but we are advancing. I promise you, Ramona and I and others will never, ever quit. We need your continued support in order to win this fight. We need our legislators to be willing to do what's right every time to come out on top. We'll support you, but we need a commitment from our party that it will fight as hard as it can, as we do, for the conservative beliefs that we hold dear. Treat every term in office like it's your last one. Fight for us every day. And again, that's about all I had, but just to reiterate, go look at the Great Seal of the U.S. Again, look at the eagle, look at the talent, the left talent, 13 broken arrows. That's what we have to be. We have to stick together. They can't break us as a group. Thank you all very much for listening, and God bless. God bless you all.